Welcome to PM Square series on what's new in Planning Analytics Workspace. My name is Dan Swan and I'm a senior consultant with PM Square. This video will cover the new enhancements to the modeling workbench that have been released so far this year in 2024. We will cover 12 new features added to the modeling workbench. In Release 93, a new filter has been added to the dimension editor in addition to the two filtering options already available. You can still filter dimension members in the dimension editor with the optional filter or use search to create a list of members that match the search term. The new filter icon is here. And I'm going to click the operator drop down where we have contains, equal, not equal, starts with, and ends with. I'm going to leave it at contains. I'm going to enter a keyword, interest, then click done. With the filter applied, all my member names include the word interest. Note that the filter icon is changed to indicate the filter is active. I can initiate this filter in the Members tab or the Attributes tab. However, I'm always filtering on the member name. I can add up to 3 filter parameters. I can choose to match all of the following parameters or match any of the following parameters. I can remove a parameter by clicking on this minus icon and click Clear to remove the filter completely. In Release 93, the ability to replace an existing cube with a new cube has been added to the Create Cube menu within Workspace. To replace a cube, we'll start in the Databases tree and the SmartCo instance, and then we'll expand cubes. Scroll down to Capital Projects, and if I right-click here, I can go to Cube Operations, then Create from Cube, or I can click on the menu icon, go to Cube Operations, and then Create from Cube. In the Create Cube window, I can create a brand new cube and change the name here. I can even go to another database to start building another cube. But I'm going to click Replace, and then I get a warning saying all existing cube data, views, security, and rules will be deleted. My next button has been activated. I'm going to click Next. In the dimension window, I can see that I have 5 dimensions in my cube, and then I've got all the dimensions available in the database. If I click on, say, Account Reporting, it's immediately in the selected list. I can click this Remove icon to get rid of it. I want to add the Asset Types dimension, and then I want to move it up above Asset Classes. So with everything in order, I'm going to click Create. I get another warning message. I'm going to click OK. I get a message that it was successful, and then I get a view of the new cube that opens immediately. When using the Import Data feature from the Cubes rollup, you can now map to an existing dimension or a control dimension when you import data into a new cube. Before this release, you were required to build all new dimensions for the new cube from the imported data. Within the Databases tree at the Cubes rollup, we can right-click to import data, or we can click on the menu icon and select Import Data. I want to create a new cube. We'll enter a cube name, and you can select to upload a file or disable this slider and use a previously uploaded file. If you're uploading a file from your computer, click to browse and select a standard delimited file. We're going to use a previously uploaded file, so we'll disable this slider, click on Select File, which opens the File Manager. I'm going to click on Import Projects and click Select. With Import Projects.csv selected, I'm going to click Next. Here I can preview the file to ensure that the delimiter quote character, and number of header records are correct. Click Next. And in data source mapping, under mapping we have three choices now: new dimension, dimension, and control dimension. If we choose dimension, under the cube dimensions column we have a drop down where we can choose from existing dimensions. If we're using parent-child format mapping, we can only map to a child, and if we're using the multi-level format, we're only able to map to a leaf, and that is true if we use a dimension or control dimension. If we select control dimension, go to the cube dimensions column, click the drop down, then we have a list of available control dimensions. In Release 94, you can now simultaneously change the parameter type for multiple parameters within the process editor. Previously, you could only change one parameter at a time. Let's open the process editor, go to parameters, and then under parameters, I can click to select parameters, and once I do, this blue toolbar opens where I can change the type to string or numeric, or I can delete all parameters selected. I can click here beside parameter name and select all parameters at once. Again, the blue toolbar is open, and even with everything selected, I can still change individual parameters as needed. Improvements to the File Manager tool within Workspace were designed to make organizing and moving files easier. The File Manager improvements depicted here are available only in Planning Analytics Workspace on Cloud and Planning Analytics Workspace Local. They are not available in Planning Analytics Workspace on Planning Analytics as a service or when connected to the Planning Analytics engine. If you are working with Planning Analytics Workspace Local, you won't be able to use the File Manager in Planning Analytics Workspace 2.0.95 unless you update the Planning Analytics Administrative Agent to the version from the same release. For more information, see the link in the description below. To open File Manager for a database, start in a modeling workbench, then right-click on the database within the databases tree and select File Manager. Within File Manager, the first enhancement I want to cover is the ability to create folders and subfolders. Give this a name. Click Create. Next, I want to highlight the ability to cut, copy, and paste. So with these three files selected, the blue toolbar appears where I can cut, copy, and compress, delete, cancel. I'm going to click Copy. I'm going to go back to our new folder. You can see that our selected items are listed in alphabetical order. I'm going to select Paste. My three files are now in the new folder. I'm going to select these files again and click Compress. If I click Compress here, the zip file will appear here. I'm prompted for a name. Click Compress. And now my zip file appears in the new folder. I'm going to do this again. Select these three files, then click Compress. Then I'm going to go to the SmartCo level, create a new folder, call it Compressed Files. Click Create. I'm going to go in the Compressed Files folder, and then I'm going to click Compress again. I'm going to give it a name. Click Compress. So I'll move those files, compress them into this new folder without having to use cut or copy. If I click here in the blue toolbar, I have some additional options like download or name, cut, copy, expand. I'm going to click on Expand, And then if I click on expand again, the compressed files are expanded into this compressed files folder. Go back to the SmartCo level. I'm going to click on compressed files, select new folder, then delete all. When I delete a folder, I'm deleting the contents of that folder also. Click OK. Alright, those are the new enhancements to the file manager. In Release 95, transactions can be rolled back from the database transaction log within Workspace. We'll start in the databases tree. In the SmartCo instance, I can right-click on the instance, go to Logs and Transaction Log. I can choose the specific cube, right-click, Logs, Transaction Log. Within the Transaction Log panel, I can filter by time period. If I create a custom time period, I'm going to click back to today. Want to see all users, maximum entries, doesn't affect this particular example. Want to stay in the GL transactions cube, then click search. And this search procedure may take several seconds. With the transactions returned, I can select one or more transactions. If I select one, I can roll it back. If I select multiple transactions, I can roll them back by clicking Roll Back All. I want to roll back just this one transaction for $23,590. Keep that clicked and then click Roll Back. I get a warning message that this will overwrite the current value of the cell with the amount indicated in prior value, which is 0, which is what I want. I'll click OK. Get a message that the rollback was successful. And now let's go to the GL transactions cube. There's my original transaction. I'll refresh this, and the amount has been zeroed out. So that's how we use the transaction log in Workspace. Beginning with Release 95, you can manage thread activity for a database directly on the modeling workbench. This feature provides most of the capabilities available for thread monitoring that you would see in administration. To access the thread monitor, right-click on a database within the Databases tree and go to Threads. The thread monitor displays all threads on the database using these sortable columns. You can click here to sort by name, or click here to sort by state. In settings, I can manage which columns show or which ones I can hide. I can cancel an individual thread by clicking on this cancel icon. I'm prompted to confirm cancellation. If I want to cancel more than one thread at a time, I click pause and then click the checkbox for each thread that I want to cancel. Then click cancel thread. Again, I'm prompted to confirm the cancellation. Click resume to continue monitoring. The thread monitor columns are made up of the name, which is the username that initiated the thread, the state, which is the current thread state, which could be idle, wait, running, or other states. Type indicates a user or system thread. Function is the API function being executed by the thread. Wait is the time in seconds that the thread has been in a wait state. Elapsed is the elapsed time of the thread in its current state. Locks are the number of write, read, and intent to write locks that the thread holds. Context is the connected Planning Analytics client that is associated with the thread. There's a link in the description to my article on what's new in modeling that further defines the contents that can appear in each of the thread monitor columns. The ability to create users in a Planning Analytics local database has been added within the Users and Groups editor. To create a new user, right-click on a database within the Databases tree and go to Manage Users and Groups. In this tab, click on the Create New User icon. Enter a username and enter their password. Then click Add. The new user will appear at the end of the user list. Also new in this release is the ability to change a user's password. Just right-click on the user, click Change Password, then enter the new password. Click OK. A new user added in Workspace is added to the TM1 server only, not to Workspace. Add the user to Workspace if you want the new user for authentication into Workspace. Localization provides a mechanism to localize object names on your TM1 server so that users can view object names in their language based on their current locale without requiring any configuration. The new Localization editor makes it easier to localize the names of cubes, dimensions, dimension members, processes, and chores on your Planning Analytics Workspace database. The Localization editor is available from the Modeling Workbench. Planning Analytics Workspace uses the browser language settings to determine which language to display. International language codes that are defined by ISO 639-1 are used to identify major languages, and IETF language tags to identify specific locales. To localize cubes, dimensions, processes, or chores, right-click a database within the Databases tree, go to Localization, and then to Cubes, Dimensions, Processes, or Chores. We're going to Cubes. The Localization editor opens a view with object names on the rows. Our objects are cubes, so these are the cube names on the rows. And then the languages are included as members in the culture's control dimension on the columns. I'm going to select Zero Suppress on rows and columns. And now we can see the cube name for each language, and this is provided by IBM within this 24 retail database. To localize object names, you can work directly in the Localization editor or upload data to the appropriate localization control cube. To enter localized data directly, click in the cell at the intersection of the object name and the language you want to update, and then update the cell with the appropriate name for the object you've chosen. To upload data, right-click on the localized cube, in this case the localized cube attributes, and then click Import. We've already reviewed importing data early in this video, and in the description below there's a link for more information on importing data into a cube and a link for more information from IBM on localization. An enhanced autocomplete feature better identifies the required components of a rule statement and offers relevant components for the selected rule. There's also a new icon in the Rules Editor that performs a complete validation when clicked. Let's start in this Rules Editor where I have started a rule statement. I'm going to continue with DB, open paren, and then up pops a list of available cubes. I know the name of the cube, so I'm going to continue typing. There it is, IMP income statement. When I click that, all the dimensions appear for the cube in the proper order for this DB statement. If I click just in front of this organization dimension and click Control Space, then a list of dimensions for this cube, and then all of the hierarchies for this dimension, and below that are all the members of the dimension, including the roll-ups and the leaves. If I select one of the members, then that appears in the rule and it appears with the proper syntax. I'll do that again for month. Click in front of month, click Control Space, give my list of dimensions, hierarchies for the month dimension, and then month dimension members. Select that. Also new in this release is a validation button, and clicking on this button will kick off the process to validate the rules. That is the same process that occurs when you save the rules. This validation exceeds the validation that occurs when you're keying in your rules. All right, that's a new enhancement to the rules editor. We can now schedule chores using daylight savings time. A new DST-sensitive option is now available in the Chore Schedule tab. Let's edit this chore. Go to the Schedule tab. When we select the DST-sensitive option, the chore is automatically updated when daylight savings time starts or ends, depending on where your server is located. IBM says the chore schedule time will follow the daylight savings rules of the server region. A preview of a location data source can now be inspected while creating or editing a process in the process editor. Let's edit a process. With the process editor open, we go to data source, then click the drop down for data source, file, then select file. File manager opens. Click the checkbox for our file and then click select. Number of header records are 1, and let's select preview. We can see our sample data in the preview title, and now we can click view more to see the entire file. And that is the new preview feature in the process editor. Thanks for watching this video on the updates to the modeling workbench. Be sure to subscribe to PM Square's YouTube channel, where you will find more videos featuring what's new in Planning Analytics Workspace. Also, ring the bell so that you'll be notified when other new videos are released. If you need more information on the topics covered here, check the links in the description below, where you can find articles from PM Square and IBM.